The curious case of Brian Gunches, a death row enigma. In the quiet neighborhoods of Arizona in 2002, a chilling act of violence shattered the calm. Ted Price, a beloved member of the community, tragically lost his life in a brutal murder that sent shockwaves throughout the state. The man responsible? Brian Gunches, a figure who would soon become infamous, not just for the heinous nature of the crime he committed, but for his peculiar and unrelenting pursuit of justice, on his own terms. Authorities pieced together evidence connecting Gunches to Price's murder. The evidence was damning, and as the case unfolded, Gunches pleaded guilty to the charges in 2004 without hesitation. But this was no ordinary case of crime and punishment. What began as a cut-and-dried murder conviction soon veered into complicated legal and ethical territory, leaving a trail of questions about justice, morality, and the flaws in America's capital punishment system. The courtroom drama that ensued during Gunches' trial was nothing short of extraordinary. Acting as his own defense, he obliterated his chance for redemption by refusing to present any evidence or arguments. His actions seemed almost calculated, as if he wanted the jury to seal his fate. In fact, the judge presiding over the case described his behavior as suicide by jury. The jury ultimately delivered its verdict. Brian Gunches would face death for his crime. While most convicted felons fight tooth and nail against such a sentence, Gunches did the unthinkable. He fully embraced it. His determination to expedite his sentence would soon catapult him into the national spotlight. In a baffling turn of events, Gunches became his own execution advocate. Time and again, he appealed to the state of Arizona to carry out his sentence, criticizing the delays that bogged down his case. For true crime enthusiasts, this behavior was not only unusual, but also profoundly disturbing. What motivated someone to seek their own death so fervently? Was it guilt, defiance, or was there something deeper? An unraveling mind grappling with the idea of justice and redemption. Outside the prison walls, Gunches' bizarre requests made headlines. He accused the Arizona justice system of failing not just himself, but the victims awaiting closure. Why bother with justice, he seemed to ask, if we're stuck in limbo? Arizona's capital punishment process added another dimension to this harrowing tale. Legal procedures faced significant delays due to growing controversies surrounding the use of lethal injection. Questions over its efficacy and humanity suspended executions across the state for years. For Gunches, this delay wasn't a reprieve. It was yet another frustration in his peculiar quest to die. In April 2023, his execution was set to take place, but complications led to yet another postponement. This wasn't the first time Gunches faced deferred justice. Time and again, legal loopholes, ethical debates, and Arizona's lagging execution protocol left him waiting. The latest chapter in this saga now sets March 19, 2025, as his final execution date. The repetition of delays has raised eyebrows nationwide, with many questioning whether these postponements stem from humanitarian concerns, legal inefficiencies, or a lack of urgency in addressing such cases. Gunches, however, remained vocal, condemning Arizona for dragging its feet and prolonging what he saw as justice overdue. Brian Gunches' case has become a starting point for broader conversations about the death penalty. Should execution be expedited for those who demand it? What does it mean when someone willingly chooses death over an appeal? Most importantly, does Gunches' insistence on his own execution expose deeper flaws in the system? Ethicists and legal experts have scrutinized the practice of lethal injection, arguing that it violates the Eighth Amendment's ban on cruel and unusual punishment. Arizona, in particular, has drawn criticism for botched execution attempts and outdated protocols. These concerns have further intensified debates over whether the death penalty should be abolished entirely. In Gunches' case, his active pursuit of death also raises moral dilemmas. Granting his request sends a message that courts can cater to the mental instability or emotional turmoil of defendants, whereas denying it delays closure for victims' families. The tug-of-war between morality, system efficiency, and personal autonomy has left many grappling with more questions than answers. No story about Brian Gunches would be complete without examining his psyche. His court appearances painted a portrait of a man at odds with himself and the world around him. Observers noted his composed demeanor, yet his actions screamed chaos. Why would someone convicted of murder continuously forsake chances to overturn or delay their sentence? Some allege that Gunches showed signs of mental instability, though records do not officially diagnose him. Critics argue that any defendant advocating for their own death should undergo psychological evaluations to assess competency. Without such assessments, the justice system risks accepting irrational pleas that undermine the very principles of fairness it seeks to uphold. The media, of course, played its part in amplifying these contradictions. While some headlines portrayed Gunches as a broken man seeking atonement, others depicted him as a calculated attention seeker who weaponized the death penalty to take control of his own narrative. For true crime enthusiasts, this duality was as fascinating as it was unsettling. The procedural delays stretching from 2004 to 2025 demonstrate more than just bureaucratic inefficiency. They spotlight systemic flaws in capital punishment. Arizona's execution history is marred by cases of excessive delays, telegraphing an implicit ambivalence toward carrying out its ultimate penalty. Reports suggest that Arizona's last execution in 2022 was plagued by logistical concerns, from shortages of necessary compounds to incomplete policies around administering lethal injections. Human rights organizations have condemned these delays as indicative of deeper dysfunctions within the system. They argue that prolonged incarceration on death row, often decades long, constitutes a unique psychological punishment in itself. For Gunches, the system's slow crawl has forced him into a limbo he actively sought to escape. No ordinary man could endure the constant cycle of hope and denial that death row imposes, especially not someone so determined to meet his end. At the heart of this case lies the family of the victim, Ted Price. For over 2 decades, Ted's loved ones have awaited the closure they deserve. Each deferred execution date, every stay of sentence, serves as a traumatic reminder of their loss. Gunch's numerous public appeals for execution add yet another dimension to their grief. While some might feel the delay is a small mercy, others view it as an obstruction of justice. After all, how does one process loss when justice itself remains in limbo? The system is not only punishing Gunches, but, in its inefficiency, unintentionally punishing Ted Price's family as well. The newly scheduled execution date of March 19, 2025, feels like a culmination of years of back and forth. As preparations are made, debates over the death penalty rage on. Activists argue that this could become another deferred date in a long list of stalled executions due to procedural errors. If executed, Gunch's story would end where he has long wanted it to. But what legacy will it leave behind? Will it serve as a cautionary tale for meaningful reform, or merely fade into the annals of a broken penal system? The nation awaits the conclusion, some with bated breath, others with weary resignation. But one thing is certain, Gunch's case is a narrative unlike any other, one that has captivated and unsettled audiences in equal measure. Brian Gunches' life story is a sobering look at how crime, punishment, and human agency intersect in devastating ways. His repeated calls for execution challenge traditional views on justice, pushing the boundaries of what society considers right, moral, or justifiable. More than just a case study in legal affairs, his story highlights systemic flaws that demand scrutiny. From inadequate representation to delayed justice and disputable execution methods. For true crime enthusiasts, Gunches' case isn't just a tale to consume, it's a call to action. It beckons society to hold itself accountable when determining the ultimate fate of those who stray from its moral compass. As viewers, we must reflect on the fractured system that allows cases like Gunches' to linger for decades. Is the death penalty the solution, or merely a punishment plagued by inefficiency and cruelty? Can justice truly be served when its processes punish victims as much as perpetrators? Through this video, we hope to spark meaningful conversations about reforming our criminal justice system, whether through advocacy for victims' rights, rethinking capital punishment, or addressing the mental health needs of defendants. Brian Gunches' story isn't just a tale about one man's crime and punishment. It's a haunting mirror reflecting the cracks in our justice system, calling on every one of us to demand something better.